I'll call the March 4th, 2025 meeting to order. We'll stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning. We'll move to the approval of the agenda. Please note that we do have at 8:15. I'll move the commissioner's form. We'll do it for a little bit, but by 8:15, we need to break from that. And whoever we don't get to, we'll do it either right before break or at the end. That being said, approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Joan,
Second.
Gary, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Agenda approved. Moving on to consent items. We have 4 of them. Motion,
I'll move.
Second.
Warren, Paul, all in favor of the paying the and the board minutes or all of the consent items. Please vote at this time.
Aye.
Opposed? Consent items approved. Paul, why don't you start?
I was on vacay. I didn't get a thing, so I'm golden. Thank you.
Okay. Warren,
Okay, we had Northwest Area Transportation Partnership, that's ATP 2, meeting in McIntosh. That was on February 13th. And we approved some projects for the Transportation Alternatives Program. Projects from Foston, Thief River, and Polk County, one from Mentor to Maple Lake. Rich presented that one. And then there's one from White Earth Nation. And we voted on all of those by technology, whatever. We mailed in our vote anyway. And we'll decide that who gets what on Thursday. There's about $1 million there that can be used, plus was about $18,000 in carryover from last year.
What's
And
the
then we
total
had,
for the projects presented?
what?
What's the amount for the total projects presented?
Well, Boston was asking for $760,000. Polk County was asking for $175,000. White Earth Nation, $91,000, and City of Thief River Falls was $760,000.
Okay,
But
so more than what?
more than is available.
Okay.
There'll have to be some selection done. We in the past we've been able to kind of pre-approve and then draw from the next year's funds.
Okay.
Last year we ended up not using all of it, so we had some carryover. As far as the water district meeting, I'll leave that until we move to that item. And that should be it for me. It's a slow month. There's no week in the last week of the month.
okay, Gary.
Warren, Chuck, and I attended the intergovernmental retreat agenda in East Grand Forks, hosted by the chamber there, and mostly updates on some of the priorities, workforce disruptions, and that's people living on different sides of the border, moving back and forth. I'm not sure if that's ever going to change a lot, as a lot of families have. A spouse living in one state and the other, it's an issue. The daylight savings time was a concern, but Other than that, and then the following week was the uh, legislative retreat conference down in Minneapolis. Two of the top county requests for 2025 were number one, please don't add new property tax burdens. And second, help us with addressing unfunded mandates and running our systems more efficiency. Those are priorities. And of course, with the issue of the shortage of dollars and revenue for the near future, we were all kind of updated on the governor's budget regarding human services, our last meeting, where part of the plan is to just solve that deficit by giving it to the counties to pick up, and where that's going to end up, who knows, but not very popular with the commissioners, I will say that. And then looking at the legislative policy priorities, I was happy to see that solid waste was the top, and obviously a concern for Polk County. So that's what I've got.
Thank you. Joan?
Okay. So let's see. 2 weeks ago, I had household hazardous waste, was reelected chair again. We did our performance review for our director. And just looking forward, we're going to be doing ag collections again in July. So that'll be Pennington, Marshall, Kitson, and Polk County. Then I had led SHAC, the Triple C, and it was in regards to social vulnerability index. That's being used a lot by Department of Health for grants recently, because the goal is for everyone, no matter what where you live, that you have the ability to receive health care. And it boils down to the equity issue and those type of things. Then I went down to St. Paul, I had Futures. We had the new commissioner from the DCYF department out of DHS. It's Tiki Brown. And, I just mentioned to her, like with the governor's proposed budget, and then also with the African American Act that was passed last year, that these costs keep getting pushed down to the counties, and we're mandated to provide these services, but at some point something's got to break. And I said it's not going to be pretty whenever that does happen. So there's too much that's being pushed down at the counties. We just don't have time to even catch our breath, because it's just everything is coming so fast. And then that evening, Senator Carlin Nelson from Rochester spoke to us. Senator Nick Franz was supposed to have been there also, but he had an unexpected death in his family, so he was not able to be there. One of the comments that she mentioned was that all legislators have their June calendars open. So that they're assuming that there'll be special session, because they're a month behind already. So, and then the next day I had DHS Performance Council. We spent some time initially, what it looks like at the state level and like at the county levels, with the conversations going on at the federal, and then also the proposed governor's budget at the state level. And then we went over our what our priorities and goals are, because those things have kind of changed now with the new DCYF department. But there was a lot of discussion with the family resource centers about how they do help, cut costs for counties for services. So I think we're definitely on the right path when we, did that. And then, let's see, I was home for about a day, and then I I went back to the cities again for the Ledge Conference. I went to the AMC had a legislative testimony training, so I went to that, and that was kind of interesting. And we had our staff people, they were like the senators or whoever they were on the committees, and um, there were certain senators that they portrayed that were not very favorable, just how they get distracted and some of the questions that they ask. And it was kind of, it was kind of funny, but at the same time, it's what, when you testify that you really are, you know, um, having to deal with when you're there. And then I went to MRC, and there, there was not much for legislative updates. There was a lot of discussion with the DLC is looking at changing some things, and I mean, it doesn't affect us, but for smaller jails, that they have to have a deputy on duty 24 hours a day, where, some of them, they just, because they don't have the inmate numbers. So, and then there's also discussion that they are trying to eliminate the sentence to serve. So, and then we did, the round robin of county issues, and pretty much everybody has a lot of the same issues. But the one thing I thought was interesting, whenever there was a discussion of the C&D landfills, that everybody is looking to Polk County to be kind of the lead on that. So, good or bad. And then the next day was at the Capitol. So I met with Senator Johnson, Representative Steve Gantner, and then also Representative Jim Joy. And I think, we had some good meetings. Chuck and I were actually able to meet separately with Mark Johnson, and kind of went over some specific Polk County issues. And I think the overall conversation, you're pretty much hearing the same thing from everybody. Like when it comes to the mandated costs being pushed down to the counties, that the legislators did not know anything about it, before the budget was released. And, they're all saying that they're not in favor of it. But, still, kind of to depend on what our February forecast looks like on Thursday when it comes out, and where those numbers are. And then I had, so I'm vice chair for the Public Health and Human Services Committee, and so we had kind of a fireside chat with all the commissioners for DHS. So we had Commissioner Brown, who's the DCYF, Commissioner Cunningham, who's for Department of Health, and then the interim commissioner for DHS. And one positive thing that she said was that they're looking at doing away with all these grants and just having direct funding for counties, so hopefully that cuts down on, paperwork, the time that is needed to submit these grants, that we just get the funding and, and use it for what it needs to be used for. And then also we had Marshall Smith, who is the CEO for Health Systems, and he works with the direct care and treatment. Was, some good conversations. They really kind of stressed the point of how much the percentage of funding that these departments get from the federal. It's 40 to 50%. But, I think we just need to be very thinking out of the box of figuring out how we need to do things. And then had a board of directors, and there were 256 at the legislative conference, and currently there's 90 that are signed up for the leadership conference the end of the month. And then also when I was down there, I was kind of voluntold that I was appointed to the behavioral health work group, which I had not applied for, but the executive committee and also Julie Ring requested that I sit on that committee. So yeah, I guess I'm another committee added. But they just, wanted to have the rural voice, and just the way I approach and think things is differently than some of the other, commissioners from the southern state and the metro. So they wanted, that different voice on the committee. So
Are you planning on going to the leadership
Mhm.
workshop?
yeah. So because we have a board meeting tied with that too. So, but are you
I am not. I have a
Okay.
Laurel meeting now.
okay? Anybody else going to go to that?
It's in Niwa, Nisswa,
Nisswa.
Nisswa.
Yeah, Grandview.
I've been there a few times.
It's a good. It's always the speakers and stuff are always really good. So looking forward to that.
Anything else?
I hope not.
Anybody else? Okay, moving on, Mr. Whiting.
We've got some gentlemen here, but I'll go over the agenda item here quickly. We've got request West Central Regional Water District as still proceeding through the legal formation process. Your board will remember budgeting $135,000 for its share of the 3-county contribution for the work to date. That was $300,000 total. Those funds are nearing depletion, and the request from the board is another $200,000 from the 3 counties. You've seen the breakdown here because we have the highest population percentage. We have a $90,000 share that's being asked for. It's not positive that that's what it's going to take, but it should be, I think, more than enough from the opinions I've heard at the meetings. We've got 3 of our 4 representatives here in the meeting, the 2 commissioners and Brian Evenson from Climax, plus say your name again.
From Neilsville.
From Neilsville. You remember we had the mayor of Neilsville as one of our appointees. He has since left that seat. The board needs to reappoint. I had scheduled this before the board today because I thought on the 20th of February, Marshall Polk would be considering the MOU that actually was proffered by them in a meeting that we had a couple months ago on how to deal with territory. They suggested a equivalent of a gentleman's agreement, which of course is more of a memorandum of understanding. That was given to them, and they delayed acting on it, referring it to their attorney, from what I've been told. So we don't have that here, but thought I would brief you on that. Lucas Spaeth is the chair of the WCRWD. I'm going to add in here too that one of the discussions that has taken place is to have the communities within the district to ask those individual communities, basically communities with their own little water systems, whether they would have interest in being included in consideration for some longer term planning. No obligation other than to put some dollar amount for expressing their interest. The board discussed $500 for communities under 1,000 and $1,000 for communities over 1,000 population. I did put together a list of what that would be for the Polk County communities. Of course, Climax is already has access, so the other communities, most of them very small. I'm not even sure if Gully and Trail has a water system, to be honest. I think Gully might. Not so sure about Trail, your district. So my recommendation, with that totaling $7,000, is for the board to authorize another $97,000 to complete the process, but put that $7,000 in reserve and then contact the individual communities yourselves and have discussions about whether they would be interested or not. Just trying to make it easier for communities to kind of be in the loop. I think I'm seeing a little bit more aggressive reaction in the other two counties, but perhaps that would help here. I will note that the 135 that was put forward a couple years ago, and the funds that were presented to Climax to upsize the pipe to make, frankly, this whole thing possible, at least get it started, were ARPA money. You remember that we, by resolution, designated all those funds at the end of 2024. But that also meant not using levied money. It's a bit of a switch. Also, Fertile never stepped forward on their $144,000 for the Agassiz Environmental Learning Center. So that remains out there. So there are funds to do this that would be consistent with what you did before if you choose to do it. Maybe what I'll do then is turn it over to Lucas and the gang here, and they can address the board on behalf of the district a little more directly. And Lucas, if you want to scroll through anything here, just finger roll it for you. Cheers.
I asked these guys to sit in the middle, but they didn't listen. Chairman Holloway and commissioners, thank you for having us. As Mr. Whiting said, my name is Lucas Spaeth. I am the chairman of the West Central Board. My background is the superintendent of utilities for the city of Halstead, Minnesota. So I'm in the water, electric, and wastewater facility. And Brian, I'll have you introduce yourself, and then.
I'm Brian Evenson, council member with the city of Climax, and also the Polk County representative, one of the representatives in Polk County on the board.
Scott Aventroth, City of Nielsville, been there forever, and hoping to promote this project and hopefully move forward.
Let's see here. So as we drafted a letter, requesting more funds for the gap funding to secure our position as a water system. You're looking at three guys that work in small communities in public water systems. So fortunately of that, we're legally obligated through MDH, the Minnesota Department of Health, to supply, safe water, testing, those sorts of things. And that's really what West Central Regional Water District will be at the end. It'll be considered a municipal type water system with safe drinking water. As Chuck mentioned, we did draft a memorandum of understanding with Marshall Polk Rural Water. There was some discrepancies with where they saw our line and where we legally found their line. We never didn't receive any information from them beyond their wellhead protection. And we do have some more historical boundary lines. And there on there are some townships out there that are half covered by Marshall and some are that they're not even covered. I would say that our line was drawn to the best of its ability using their wellhead protection side. We met with them early January, had a conversation with their chairman, their manager, and two other of their commission members about a gentleman's agreement on their project over our project, sharing information so we're not redundantly doing the same work twice as far as the survey goes, according to the state statute. They have since forwarded this onto their legal team, and I'm not even sure if they've found their legal team yet. This is our existing map, so you can see it doesn't actually show townships, but if you look at historical data, and I believe Chairman Hawley, you maybe do have some of those historical documents of where that line kind of does cross, doesn't cross. No, nobody's there. And in the spirit of regional water, as you know how we're seeing it, that happens all the time. Marshall Polk, I think, also has some existing crossings that Kitson Marshall crosses into their property or into their space, and vice versa. So West Central, and I'd like to go through this quickly, or if you ask questions as we go, I'll just kind of try to slide through. I think you guys have actually probably seen this information more than once. So it's a regional water district, 3 counties, yourselves, Clay and Norman. We've been in the process and kind of highlight some of the shortcomings that have happened during that process while we go through this. So the development of the rural water project looks like this, according to the state statute. This is all things considered. The list of potential users and the list of potential suppliers has definitely gone out of the original scope. As you guys maybe remember, I think it took about 3 or 4 meetings to develop the line, the map line for the survey area, and that has compiled additional work from engineering to recognize these public water systems, as well as planning for the future as we go. The funding for these projects, as developed through the state, is grants and loans from various sources, and that would be the state statute really does develop it as the counties could build these and then be reimbursed as revenues are received. We are under the understanding and under the guidance of our board and with some heavy county commissioners on our West Central Regional Water District Board, that we would not be doing any kind of taxing in this process, and that we would be self-funded. And so that is how we are going ahead forward. Of course, the formation of it, when we have no revenue, no water meter, so to say, to collect a revenue, those things are they're behind, but they will be there. So we have many USDA rural development applications out there through the state of or through small cities. So Climax was successful in receiving USDA rural development. That's how they were funded, and that's how they're paying back their water connection. Neilsville is probably the furthest along in the next round of rural development. So they'll be pulling their own loan out with it. the city of Halstead, the city of Pearlie, the city of Felton are all on application process of the USDA. So they'll have what we deem as probably a water access charge to buy into it. It'll also help fund additional future projects going forward, having those loans go back into the water district. State of Minnesota bonding. So we last year, when they failed to pass the bonding bill, the West Central Regional Water District was in the bonding bill for $4.5 million. Failure on the bonding bill. We're back. They've authored bills again this year for bonding. There's not a. I mean, we're waiting and seeing. I did secure the mayor of Halstead and myself met with Senator Pappas and Senator Housley on that bonding committee. And Senator Pappas chairs that, and Senator Housley is a minority leader in that. So we met with them end of January. They're expecting it in it. So if it's a first come, first serve, we think we'll be successful this year. Of course, fingers crossed. And then the congressionally direct spending, Chuck outlined that in his memo here this morning. But there's $3.5 million out there that has been secured through Senator Klobuchar's office, and that is a Norman County earmark request and a city of Felton earmark request. And that those monies, what we're trying to do is get it to go into Norman County, and then West Central will be able to utilize that for kind of first steps in the phase. But everybody will have when I mentioned the water access charges. Everybody will get a little piece of that access charge, because obviously we're putting in 12-inch pipe or whatever size it might be. Those charges are not necessary for a city of Neillsville or a city of most of our small cities on the west side of it. But to build this to fit into the eastern portion of it, we want to see that pipe go in one time at a size that's going to serve the entire district or a good portion of it. There'll be many phases in this as we go forward. I don't know if I have to talk to you guys about regional, because you guys do you have 3-4 counties in about every process that you have right now, but you understand the regional aspect of it. We definitely can save on some of those O&M costs in the future, capital costs that spread out over multi-county, multi-rural city, those sorts of things. And we really see this as a major need to regionalize, have regional plants, have those pipeline projects that continue to serve into late into the future. So it does recognize about 40,000 people between the 3 counties, 30 cities, and their supply from existing Minnesota and North Dakota municipal rural water systems. And this is when I talk about those supplies. So we've had 13 different meetings with public water systems that had sizes and water, let's say water permits through the DNR that would be sufficient enough to maybe serve back into the West Central Regional Water Districts, and that includes Crookston and Foston. I've had many conversations with Cassie Heidi, the administrator over there. We just haven't secured an actual meeting to have these discussions. But the North Dakota water supply right now, Bryan and Climax is being served by East Central Regional Water District out of North Dakota. And I think most of his water is coming from a plant in Thompson.
Larimore.
Thank you. As you can see here, the board, so there's county commissioners on the board, and it sounds like we'll have that I guess make up for some time until the water district is fully formed and kind of in the light of the original aspect of regional water serving into the communities. And then there's also some at large. This preliminary engineering survey, this is the process that we're in right now. So we've recognized those 13 water systems. The engineering will be completed hopefully early this spring, and the cost of it, the cost of this preliminary engineering report, as well as the scope, the geographic area that has expanded, so has the interest of the Minnesota Department of Health, the Minnesota DNR, and we have Southwest Polk County Watershed District ask for information on it. It's been quite a process of learning it. This will hit really on the small cities, the water quality concerns, and I don't think any city out there is really concerned about that they have poor water, but they may in the future. They recognized in the rural things, including counties outside of our purview, about their poor water quality in the rural. So this is something that is definitely there. I think one of the aging infrastructure and the capital costs that would be to replace those. So that's been our request down at the state of Minnesota, to recognize that if you want to put $3.5 million into a small plant in Neillsville or Climax, and we're saying, can you do $3.5 million into a pipeline project so we don't have those plants to worry about in 20 years to remanufacture them or rehab them or rebuild, or whatever it might be. We see this as a future, definitely, the way of the future, because those capital costs are going to be there, and then the O&M of it will actually go down for most of these cities, not having those plants to maintain, and then emerging contaminants. So as Commissioner Lee mentioned, they keep saying, well, we're going to fix this by giving it back to the counties, or they're going to fix it back there. The emerging contaminants is a concern as we're water operators, and we see this, and they continue to kind of notch it down to meet those requirements. In a small city, imagine the capital costs that they have to do, and then also an operational cost that they'll have to continue to update to meet those new guidelines as they go. This little water droplet over here kind of gives you, this actually is some of the responses that we have. So if you look at some of the larger wording on there, those would be more of the concerns: the odor, staining, arsenic taste, hard, reliability, rusty. Those sorts of things are what our surveys have come back with. As you can see, House File 5023 and Senate File 5002 was part of the 23 legislation. We were in the 2024 legislation. We're also in the 2025 legislation. And we've asked for $9.5 million in 2025, knowing that they'll probably give us a haircut of about half. But luckily, with a pipeline project, we can build something at that. This is no surprise to you. We're our rural agriculture economy. All three counties specifically thrive on the rural egg properties. We've recognized that aquifers and groundwater are the primary sources for rural water existing right now. And in the future, we could be looking at maybe more overland waters, such as the Red River watershed, or the Red River Water Supply Project that we signed a letter of support to Senator Klobuchar's office, so that could be a federal waterway. So we did consider alternatives of doing nothing, and as I mentioned before, that's capital costs for these cities, capital costs for the state of Minnesota, and operation and maintenance dollars that will be considered in the cities. And then, of course, when I think of the rural customers, the ones that I've talked to and the ones that have come into light to this, never thought they had an option before. So there has been very much supported in the rural area. So when we formed the West Central Water District, and you guys were part of that formation, we've found these benefits of clean, sustainable water. Large populations could be served, small municipalities, and then the rural customers out in the rural. And also, as I mentioned, Scotty and I, as operators, we can tell you that it's getting harder to find water operators in our small cities. They want to pay somebody to mow the lawn, and then they have to have a certified operator. That's not always going to work out. Right now, I have 4 contracts out with our city to city, some small cities, Pearlie and Borup, but also with the city of Glendon, Minnesota. That's in Clay County. So and as you guys know, that's having the workforce is not necessarily here that we want to continue forward. Zone 3 is our preliminary area that we are considering for Project 1. This will be approved by the court in Clay County, and that would be this map. And no easements are secured beyond the Halsted Utilities owns a railroad line from Neilsville to Pearlie as a potential path if we're not successful in getting private, or we can use state or county right of ways, with approvals. Recognize that you guys have $584,674 to upsize the pipeline. That 12-inch expansion, you will have. That is a continued benefit. So when I talked about the water access charge, and that is actually how the West Central Board deems this is going to continue forward, those water access charges. So that'll actually trickle down into every city that has a water access charge, or even a rural customer. They will see the benefit of that $584,000 all the way, into the future. There will be no capital cost associated with that addition.
One thing there, you see on that map, there's 3 different river crossings there. Basically one from Climax, and then one into Halsted, and one in Clay County. So basically that 584,000, as I see it, would be payment on what was done to get water to Climax and to Polk County. And we wouldn't be liable for the river crossings. That's my thought.
Correct. That water access charge will yeah, it could be picked, you could say this one, but I think the water access charge at this time is what they call a postage stamp, and that's what we're working with the financial guidance to have everyone kind of have the same water access charge. So if it's, like I said, if it was $3 million that I needed for my plant to be built, and every city is going to have a, $1.5 million water access charge, there's some significant savings in doing a water access charge that way. And of course, there's a water meter in addition. So there's also, you're going to pay per gallon or per 1,000 gallons. We are looking for a mix of state, federal, and local sources of dollars to continue the build out of this. So we do see a high benefit to all 3 counties. Obviously, Climax is already seeing that benefit. Neilsville is right down the way of that, and Beltrami has high interest in getting it soon. We've had many meetings with the Minnesota Department of Health and the Minnesota DNR, so we're working closely with those guys to make sure that that they're in the know. 116A, that's the state statute that we're following. So we are in the process of the final engineering, continue to work with the local agencies and apply for state, local, federal funding. There is another earmark opening out there that we will see another request probably coming from one of the counties at this point in time until the watershed or until the water district is formed. And then in the spring, we see the design and bid phase for the project 1, which would have been the mapping of those yellow lines going forward. And then the build out will begin as soon as Neilsville secures their USDA funding. The city of Halsted is right behind. Also have a wastewater project that we're working on completing. Open it up to Brian. You want to mention anything?
We're asking for this $90,000 to continue our work to finish the formation of the district. 116A is the state statute that governs this. It's more than 50 years old. It's only been used a few times, and it's quite a burdensome process to get a district formed. We got the initial funding, and turned out that wasn't enough because there's a lot of requirements. This additional funding should be more than enough to get us into, well, through the summer when we do have EPA funding coming to continue our planning process. So this is just a stopgap funding to keep going with the planning and engineering and legal work.
The original or request was between 150,000 and 200,000.
We started thinking, well, it's going to be 150, 200. At 200, we know that's going to be enough to get us through, so we won't have to go through this again. If we're not, monies aren't spent, they're going to be returned to the counties.
I'm always a little concerned about how, 200,000 not going to be enough. So then back here and
No, we're
another 30
planning,
days asking for,
we planned that so that we have enough to get through till we get other funding coming in. We have it secured, and EPA just released their funding to the state of Minnesota, so we should see that sometime this summer.
And what's that dollar amount?
What do we have coming?
$3.5 million.
And that's basically for design easements and that whatever 12-inch line that you had on that map earlier, correct?
Yep, it'll be a portion of both of those. Yeah, yeah. And you guys have a request in for 25 for 700,000, I believe, through earmarks for the project. Polk County does. Congressional direct spending, yes.
Yeah. And we are legally formed as a district as per the judge in Clay County Court. It's just not completely formed. We're formed and able to do business, but we're not completely formed. And that's where we're going now, this additional funding to get through that process. There'll be another court hearing sometime this summer.
It was my motion in the very beginning that got the line to the city of Climax.
Yep.
And the revised motion to get it upsized to the current 12-inch.
Yep.
And I'll say this, I'm behind this project 150%. But saying that, I got my concerns on the amount of time it's taken, just the interest calculations of any FHA loans or whatever. When this concept was first conceptualized and presented to us when we the board approved the allocation and the concept was bought into, interest rates through those FHA were probably sub 1% or 1.5 or lower. Currently, I understand they're probably sitting at about 5% and if not higher. And with what's going on in DC, everything's in turmoil. I got my concerns financially when and how this project will become reality. And you indicated that the $3.5 million is on its way. That's all great and fine, but I am very concerned on the legal and so forth and so on. We could be sitting here 5 years from now, and hopefully not. But when does the district and potential customers start picking up some of the freight on the legal side of it, so that we don't have to spend Polk County ARPA money, and our ARPA money with this request is basically dried up. We're going to have to levy somewhere in the budget to do this if it continues. And I go back to, and I've said it before numerous times, when the Marshall Polk Water District was formed, I remember the discussion as a 10-year-old kid. My mom was adamantly opposed of putting money, giving, if I remember the dollar amount, it was $1,000. My dad had to haul the water, and he thought it was a great thing. And it was quite a family discussion, and luckily that thing got jump started. But the people that wanted the water system ended up putting money to do the legal, to do the engineering, and to jumpstart the court system and all of that. And then the loans were granted, and it all came together, and it's been a beautiful thing. And I hope that that's the case with this district. But unfortunately, I feel the legal side of this, just the environment of the timing of this, conceptually, I'm behind you guys 100%. It's the dollars that it's going to take to finish this project. And I'll come out and say, I going forward, uh, if there's a request of Polk County money going into anything other than this request today, I can't be in favor of it, because somewhere down the road, the football has to be passed to the water district to say, hey, all of the ultimate end users need to start putting some money into the coffers.
We agree with that 100%. After this, we don't want to levy county money for this project. We want to be self-supporting. That's our goal. So after today, I don't want to come back here and ask for money. You don't want to give us any more money. We're in agreement on that. So we are close to being self-supporting.
Chairman, if I could, yeah, we would really appreciate the ability to have this stopgap funding come in, and knowing full well, and I think that adds to some of the cumbersomeness that we run into, with some of the agencies, with our own funding opportunities. So the cities really have a good opportunity to go through USDA, but we've started that process 2 years ago, and to continue this forward, we're looking at additional communities to come on and start the 2-year process to potentially be funded through USDA rural development, and I, we really see the big picture, like that's how it's got to be, and that's going to be something that we'll be doing internally. So these water access charges will really be the funding opportunity that we have to continue to grow and continue to get the service out there where the people need it. And I have fielded, like I said, at least 50 calls of people that want it. I've only have a few, maybe a handful of people that said, no, I like my well water, I'm just going to keep it. And that's understandable. I mean, we're not asking for anybody to sign up for, in those rural customers, they might have a $10,000, I shouldn't even say a number, I don't know what the number will be, but they'll have an access charge as well.
Well, and I think that's some of the problem in the fringe area that Marshall Polk is running into with potential customers is somebody's handed whatever the number is, 10,000, we'll just round it off to $10,000 bill. If you're 80 years old and want better drinking water and it's a $10,000 bill,
Mhm.
are you going to spend $10,000? And I think a lot of the rural people are in that position. Is what's our long-term plan? Can we recoup our monies over a certain amount of time? And I think even the district is going to run into that down the road, because let's face it, there's not a lot of young people moving to any of the communities or rural areas. So it's,
We've discussed this, and I don't know if having rural water available will help expand the population base, but we want to keep the existing population base.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Yep. So,
Well, it's a good project from the beginning, and I don't think we mind being the leaders of that. Obviously, with the $540,000 a couple of years ago, and then 135, and now 100. But with being the leader, you certainly want to look behind to see if you have any followers. I think that's what Mark and you are getting at. We got to see what the commitment from what the cities and what the area is of moving forward, and that's undeterminable and
Hey, I think
tied to dollars.
yeah, it's been no secret. You guys know from the beginning, I've been new in this process, and from the beginning, I think even when I first came on, you guys heard where I was really didn't know where I was going in the beginning with this, so I sat and listened an awful lot, and I'm really sitting where Mark is too, but I've learned a lot with this process and watching as it has developed that I want what's best for the people, and I do want good water for the folks. If they want water, I want them to get it. But I'm also stuck on the fact that I don't know if I want to keep dishing out the money either. And I think that's what I'm hearing from all of us. So, I'm not opposed to this extra, but I think, like Mark is saying, that I think there's got to be stop. It's going to have to end because I don't know if I'm going to push forward to that after this. But we're at a point where we have to do our best to at least get us there. We got to get this court system done so that we can get it, and then I think it's in the district's hands.
We do agree.
Yeah.
If we can do that with this extra, then okay. But I think I don't know if we should go much more than that. I'm still hesitant, but
Well, I am too. And $90,000. We've got the funds. No, that's a little different. We're not going to have to levy for that. The other 7,000, I think that should be up to the communities to come up, and that's where we'll find out if people are really serious
yeah,
about
that's a
being
grand
part of
idea.
this.
I think that's a good feeler.
A feeler to find out.
Yeah.
Because if it's not there, we need to know that.
We're gonna know that.
Mhm.
I agree.
Yeah, and that's kind of like, I mean, I'm going to echo what's already been said, that when I first heard about this request, my first thought was no, because we have already put so much money into
Mhm.
this. But yeah, we have to at some point say enough is enough. It's always easy for everybody to come to the county when they're looking for money. And that you have to realize that our main source of funding is through our property taxes.
Yeah.
And like I mentioned in my forum of how the state and everything is really putting more pressure on the local funding source. And it gets to a point of where our taxpayers cannot do it anymore.
Mhm.
And, there's, all these other funding sources, like through the federal and that type of stuff. But it's all tax money, no matter how you look at it. And, it's at some point, the people that are really going to benefit from it need to be picking up the tab. And I understand we're just not at that point yet. But, and one thing and I know this is probably an engineering question of the lines, coming across from North Dakota. There's one at Halsted, and then there's one just a little bit past Hendrum. And I look at where Climax, you've got a large distance initially between Climax and Halsted, and then there's a short distance with pipes coming between Halsted and Hendrum. And why we've got those two lines coming across so close, when I thought initially, wasn't it just supposed to be 3 lines coming, one to each county? Wasn't that kind of the initial proposal?
I don't know if it was ever said,
Yeah.
termed that way,
Mm-hmm.
but they make sense to have 3 lines coming across. I don't think that one 12-inch line is big enough to
Well,
serve the whole
no.
area.
Yeah,
But then, you've got, 2 in Norman, but then, I assume that there's going to be another one that's going to have to come across to Clay. Or are the pipes going to feed it north from like the Hendrum line?
Probably.
the Clay County would probably be served by a different water source rather than coming from North Dakota. It could be the city of Fargo providing water
Mhm.
to the district. It could be Holly. They've expressed interest in that. So I think Lucas said we've met with 13 different water suppliers. So these lines coming across from North Dakota aren't going to be exclusive. There will be other sources. Well, Foston has said they want to sell us water when we start moving out that way.
Mhm.
Grand Forks wants to sell us water, but that's quite a distance to pipe it. So we're looking at other water sources besides those lines coming across.
Yeah, actually, I'll be meeting with East Grand Forks this evening. Yeah, that third line, the one in Halsa is very realistic. There's a large dairy that's going to be going in or potentially going in. So if that's permitted, 3 miles west of Halstead, they'll help with that improvement as well in the pricing of it.
Right.
So that one is very realistic. This one down here, I think, would probably come from East Central Regional Water District, and I want to be respectful of your guys' schedule. The form that I just hand out that's the same handout that we used at the state of Minnesota, and also I handed it to Representative Fishbach last week and Senator Klobuchar and Senator Smith. So and they've had support for this project. So I was fortunate to go out there for work, and I doubled up with volunteering for the water district.
So when you mentioned the dairy in North Dakota, the dairy by Gary, are they their own well, or where are they getting their water from?
They have their own well system.
Okay.
Yep.
Have you had good attendance at your meetings?
At our board meetings?
Yeah.
Yes, minus a couple Polk County commissioners. Mr. Reese has been there a handful of times. Bird, is it
Yeah,
Bird?
Mike Bird.
I haven't seen
Kind of
him
more
but one
concerned
time.
about the other counties, and
Oh, the other counties, we've had all of their commissioners.
so they're in, and
Yeah,
it looks they've already approved their
yes.
percentages.
Yes,
I
they
understand.
Mhm.
Mr. Chairman, are you ready for a motion?
Yep. Any other questions, comments from the 3 of you? Okay, call the question.
I would move to approve the amount to be 90,000 for expenses from the county, and then the other 7,000, I guess, received from the communities. That's my motion, as stated, but with the change of the 97 to 90,000.
Okay,
I'll second
have
that
the,
motion.
Commissioner Wilhite, is your motion, the 90,000 contingent on 7 being raised, or 90,000 with?
No, it's just 90,000 from the county.
Okay, thank you.
I'm seconding.
and Warren seconds. Any explanation on the motion needed? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you very
Thank
much
you.
for your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for all your work. I understand it.
Moving on, you Miss Johnson, Dana Johnson.
We got that planning and zoning, you think, there too.
Oh,
We have to go quite a ways, 'cause there's-
Chuck needs time to study
Tell me
that.
when to stop here.
You'll see it. Yeah, it's gonna be quite a ways.
There we go.
Go ahead.
Okay. Hi. How are you?
Doing good.
Greg wanted me to apologize for him not being here today with me. He's got a court trial today, so this morning. But we are really excited. We have an opportunity to add a courthouse facility dog to the county. The program we're going through is Can Do Canines. They're out of the cities, so we would be an accredited assisted dog team. Myself and the dog. I would be the primary handler for this dog. There is no cost to the county. That's a bonus. Greg has forfeiture funds that we're going to use for the ongoing cost. Can Do Canines relies strictly on donations for this program. They actually have a connection to Crookston and Polk County. The executive director, his wife graduated with Greg, so it's kind of nice to have that connection to somebody local down in the metro for this. There is only 2 facilities in the state of Minnesota that train dogs specifically for uses in courthouses. They will be used to actually sit on the stand with victims. So there's a whole process. Greg and I met with our 3 district judges a couple weeks ago and got their approval for this. So they are all on board to have the dogs in the room and used for this. The dog will be trained in 3 specific types of assistance: de-escalating emotions to allow productive communication, providing comfort in stressful situations, and then applying deep pressure therapy or sense of pressure when they sense the anxiety or emotions with individuals. So these will be used with crime victims that we serve, and specifically children. They've found there's a lot of research I've done. I've worked very closely with the Stearns County Attorney's Office victim advocate that had the first dog in the state of Minnesota that did this. All of the counties, there's 5 counties in Minnesota that have this service dog. It is a service animal, so it would be used and have a vest, and we would have to do training every year to continue that accredited status with the International Dog Accreditation Service. So we'd use it just with testimony in court as well as trial prep. There's a lot of times that we will meet with the attorneys with victims throughout the case process. This is something that we can use with law enforcement during interviews if there's issues with anybody with any disabilities, children. So throughout the entire process of when victims are becoming known, either through making a report to law enforcement throughout the whole criminal justice process. So they've had really good success in Stearns County, Ramsey County, Anoka County, and I think Hennepin County was the other one. So we would be the only one in outstate Minnesota that would have this service. It's something Greg and I have talked about for a number of years, but we've not been, either of us, in a position to actually have the dog because it is quite the commitment. The ongoing cost per year for the dog would be Stearns County. When I've talked to them, it's a little under $2,000. And we have funds Greg has through forfeiture that we would be using. So this wouldn't be any additional expense to the county for this.
So that ongoing includes the purchase of the dog, the training?
There is no purchase for the dog. The purchase is it's a $50 application fee that we would pay. And that is absolutely all that we would pay with Can Do Canines. There is some about 8 weeks worth of training that we will do with them. Once we have a dog placed with us, they will come up and they will do a home study and a site visit study and all of that to make sure we have the right fit with the dog for what our needs are. And then I would go down and they would come up. And so there's a combination of training, and that would just be through my own already programming.
But you volunteer your time and the dog food and
That's all paid
Shelter.
through forfeiture funds. So the vet cost and all of that, that's where the cost of the dog is. And that's this would be property of Polk County. The dog is not my personal property. This is nothing that I own. This would be the Polk County Attorney's Office
that only
dog.
costs $2,000.
About $1,700 a year is what the ongoing cost is what Stearns County's
That's
paid.
what I was getting at.
Yep.
Explain to me again, I kind of lost you there. So the dog is in the courtroom.
Correct. And it's
provides
laying on
de-escalate.
yep. So it would lay on the feet, like right by their feet and their leg of the person testifying. So in order to do that, we would have the jury out of the room when we bring the dog in with the person on the stand. And so we'd have them on the stand at the time that we would bring the jury back in. So the jury never actually sees the dog. Studies show it's very more beneficial for a jury to have this versus we have kids that can take a comfort, like a toy, stuffed animal. They found that could be prejudicial towards defendants. We've had support persons that we've used in the past that can come sit with a victim that we have to get special permission through the judges to do that as well, mostly just with children. But that person sits kind of back behind the person. They can't touch them. They can't talk to them. It's just you feel their presence there is all. And that has also been shown through studies to be more prejudicial on a defendant than this, because the jury never sees the dog. It sits kind of between the judge and the victim, that little area there. And so the jury doesn't even know they're there. I did bring an example of a gal is in a different county who wrote how it helped her children. That dog's name is Jetter. Provide an extra layer of support on the level that the girls welcomed. These were 2 7-year-old daughters who were sexually molested by their father. The victim advocate was warm and loving and a mother herself, and the girls picked up on that, and I liked her instantly. But the girls were still reserved in that situation because she was still one of them. So they were only willing to give so much. But with Jetter, it was unconditional love from moment one, and he had nothing to gain. They didn't fear him or his position at all. It was just trust and love from the first moment. Jetter helped Aaron and Jordan find their words. So the one thing they find is with kids, even as an adult, even though we might be a safe person, we're still an adult. And so children's seem to open up and find words more readily to give a more fuller story of what's happened and be able to disclose that sexual abuse that's happened to them.
So is the dog more for witnesses testifying, or is it
Correct.
even for defendants?
If there was a situation, we've talked to the judge where we had a defendant that had a mental illness or some handicap thing that would benefit from that, that could be on a case-to-case basis. We've talked about if it's something that would be beneficial that the judges feel down the road with DUI court to be able to go in and use the dog with DUI court issue. We understand that trauma happens to many people on many different areas. It's not just limited to the people that we have as victims in the criminal justice system. So it's to help with trauma.
But mostly on the witness side of the
Correct.
equation.
Yes.
And mostly for children?
Children, I can tell you the case that Greg's in court for today, that is not a child, and I think she would greatly benefit with there's a lot of anxiety just meeting with her last week, that victim, that I think it would be a great benefit to have for anyone who chooses to use that dog. So
And it's not every court case, it's on a request by,
correct. I mean, the victim and the witness would want to have to, interact with that dog. Maybe somebody doesn't like dogs, and so we wouldn't force this on them by any means. But it's another tool to have to really benefit. I've done this with the county. I've been here for 20 years now, and I can tell you there's numerous cases I can think back to, and even just the past few years that would be of great benefit, not just to children, but I have had to put a 6-year-old on the stand before, and those are horrendously horrible cases. And, I had a case, I actually was assisting a teenage girl last month up in Marshall County with the advocate up there, and she had been sexually assaulted by an uncle, and her anxiety and mental health issues and other stuff, you know, you can't have a lot of things visible to a jury. And so I have a fidget ring that I keep that I give to victims to wear because it's very inconspicuous and it doesn't make noises. And even that was, you can just see the tension in this, trying to get those stories out to a jury. It's hard to talk about something very personal that's happened to you. And so to have that support and just that dog that's trained, think about like veterans with PTSD, these dogs are trained very similar to that because a lot of our victims deal with PTSD and mental health. And so knowing those pressure points are specifically trained with the leg. And if think about like if somebody gets nervous and their leg's twitching, the dog is trained to put pressure on the leg just by resting their head on there to stop that and to give that calming sense for them to be able to then share their story of what's
Okay.
happened.
any other questions?
One thing I'm sure is there's some connection between this testifying person and the dog prior to the actual court appearance?
Yes.
There's some time together,
Yep, we'll meet with victims multiple times throughout the process, even before we get to a court trial. So the chances are they've probably interacted on many occasions with the dog before we get to a trial.
Good.
So
Any other questions? Could
I'm-
we, Chuck, could you roll
Yeah.
the, yep.
So
There we
we
go.
just need a motion from the board just to approve submitting the application. Can Do Canines is very wanting to make sure that everybody is on board before we go forward with the process. That's why we met with the judges, because if they didn't agree, we wouldn't be here today asking you guys to support this as well. So I think it'd be a great benefit for Polk County. And, I'm hoping to have the dog even out like on Night to Unite and different things so that the community can see this as well.
Okay,
It's not gonna add any additional cost.
No.
I'll entertain a motion.
I so move.
Paul makes the motion. Second,
second.
Joan seconds. All in favor of the request,
Say
I say aye.
I,
Opposed? Same. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I did
Like-
forget to let you guys know we had 498 victims last fiscal year for 24. So that's a lot.
Keep us updated when
Yes.
Just a quick, I sent in a request for some information, and this is on overloads. When people contest an overload, I was told through the grapevine that if a judge locally in Polk County agrees to the ticket or reduces the ticket, that those funds are held or potentially could be held in Polk County. I sent an email in to the court system probably a year ago and never heard a response. Could you check into that? And it has to do with the max of the $10,000 civil penalties on overloads, and also anytime a judge hears a case on specific overloads here in Crookston, where the money goes.
Okay, I can ask Greg to look into that. That's nothing I know anything about. So I
Okay,
deal strictly with the crime victim stuff, but I can ask Greg to check into overload where the fine money for that goes.
all right.
I do know that on like our domestic assault cases, 30% of the fine money that's on those cases, that does go back to victim services, kind of as an unrestricted fund that we can use, that we earmark to help victims.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Carlson, Carlstrom, excuse me.
Good morning.
Morning.
Let's see where I'm at here. On March 20 or February 21st, we had our maintenance letting for a couple projects. And the first one was for calcium chloride application. And it's a 3-year project for Polk, Marshall, Pennington, Red Lake, Clearwater, and Norman. The low bid was from Knife River Materials, North Central of Sauk Rapids. And it's the same contractor that's done it for the last 3 years. And their low bid was for $4,149,300. Polk County's portion for the 3 years is $2,280,000. So we would like to approve awarding. They were under engineer's estimate in the amount of the $4,149,300.
And they were under, you said?
They're under the engineer's estimate.
Has there been a change to Polk County's mileage of coverage or?
We are about the same. I should have probably handed these out to you guys. I think our portion for this year is 800,000. The miles is approximately the same. And also, it is a 3-year bid, but we have the option of canceling it after 1 year if, for whatever reason, we feel that we can get a better price next year, reletting it, or for what have you. But you have the option of canceling after 1 year.
How about adding mileage if we need
You
to?
can add and subtract from our quantities. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
It's an estimate. We really don't know how much we're going to put out. So, but they did a good job for us last year.
Okay. Entertain a motion to approve.
And it's in there, that was in the budget, right?
Yes.
I'll make it.
Second.
Warren and Gary, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Number 2.
The other project was for our route and seal, our crack filling projects that we do every year. And we'll be doing 3 roads this year. One's on our County Road 11, County Road 16, and County Road 21. 11's the Gently Road, 21 is 220 to 75.
Kings Road, Kings Trail, whatever that is. No, that's not.
No, this would be the
Excuse me.
St. Hilaire Road.
Get me wrong. Yeah.
So we usually crack fill roughly 4 years after we overlay them, because that's pretty much when all the cracks are going to show up, and we'll have some later, but the majority of them show up then, so we like to get them sealed up. The lowest bidder for that was Asphalt Surface Technologies Corporation out of St. Cloud, and they had a low bid of $196,800. And that one too was under engineer's estimate. So we'd like to award to Asphalt Surface Technologies Corporation, Aztec of St. Cloud, Minnesota, in the amount of $196,800.
Any other questions? Entertain a motion.
So moved.
Joan
Second.
motions, Paul seconds. All in favor as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
We also send out equipment rental bids. We get rates from various contractors throughout the state, basically, and use these if need be throughout the year. So we have a record of their rates. So we'd like a motion to award all bids that we received.
Any
Oh.
questions?
I'll make the motion.
Warren makes the motion to approve as presented. Second? I'll second. All in favor of approving the bids, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
And Rich had a ditch maintenance request. So field approach in County Ditch 200, Old State Ditch 61, Section 21 of Gully Township. The landowner has requested to replace a culvert, and so he will pay for the culvert installation, and the ditch is responsible for the future maintenance of it. So I'd like a motion to approve the landowner to install the culvert, County Ditch 200, Old State Ditch 61, and Rich will oversee the project.
So moved.
Joan makes the
Second.
motion, Gary seconds. All in favor of this culvert replacement, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
That's what I had, and Randy has, you want to sign these right now, Mark?
Yep.
I'm gonna sign the ditch one.
You gotta sign that one. Oh, it's in your district.
Darren, there was a petition on ditch 41 that went in last fall. I forgot until we did this one. I don't know the status. I haven't talked to Rich about it.
And that was for County Ditch.
41 on the south side of 21. I think it's 41.
Okay.
There was to survey and so forth and so on. I don't know the status of that one.
I'll have to check with them.
Okay, thank you.
And if I could get you to sign these, Mark.
Good morning, everyone.
Hello.
3 of each.
Need a rubber stamp.
I am here today to ask for first off permission to replace 2 of our motor graders that are scheduled to be replaced this year. So we put a bid out for 2 blades and shift this down a little bit. The low bid on 1 blade came back with RDO of John Deere out of Grand Forks being the lowest bid. And then the second blade, Ziegler Cat, was a low bid on the second. So we are going to be, if approved, we'll be trading in 2 John Deere blades, and we'll be getting 1 John Deere and 1 Cat in replacement of the 2. The John Deere would be over in the East Grand Forks shop, and that one purchase price is $329,900. And after 5 years, they guarantee us $200,000 in trade-in. Whoops, I'm looking at the wrong numbers. Apologize. The first one would be awarded to RDO, $328,231 with a guaranteed buyback of $200,000. So the cost to the county after 5 years would be $128,231. And also we bid in a 5-year warranty on these machines, which has been working out in our favor. So that would be the first blade, and that would be an East Grand Forks shop.
This is the Ziegler, the numbers are the Ziegler one?
Yep.
RDO.
RDO was the first one.
Okay.
What is the 5-year warranty cost?
It's about $26,000, but with all the emissions that are on the new machines, we've been pretty far. I don't have the exact numbers, but we have been, it's saving us money every time we do it.
Okay.
Does the warranty pick up mileage and everything for the tech to go back and forth? A lot of them don't.
So on both of these, the first year mileage is covered. After the first year, we pay the mileage. With the RDO, the mileage is minimal because they're located in Western Grand Forks, and then the machine is based right in the East Grand Forks shop. So,
Sure.
10 miles at the most.
Mhm.
And then on the second blade, I can run through the numbers here. After the trade-in allowance of the one we are trading in, $318,700 would be the purchase price. And kind of funny, but they both came back with the same $200,000 guaranteed money after 5 years. And then the cost to the county after 5 years would be $118,700. So then I think Ziegler looks pretty good on that trade-in, and that one would be located in our Fertile shop. And same thing on that one, full machine warranty, which covers electronics. It covers hydraulic hoses and just about everything on the machine. And mileage is for the first year only free, and then after that, it would be either from Crookston or they have field techs located, about every 60 miles throughout the state. So,
What's the reason for John Deere RDO on one? I noticed the engine displacement's
Yeah, I
a
see
little
that
bit
too.
different, but
um,
is it
a
just
minimal
operator?
price benefit with RDO, but our blade operator in East Grand Forks prefers to run John Deere, and since that came, it's $1,000 cheaper roughly, and he does a fabulous job over there. I think he's very good. So part of that is to make, keep him happy, and he does great work for the county. So.
Well, I think it's also good. I understand the operator familiarization with different equipment, but I think it's good to split it, especially on
wealth.
the
Yeah.
two pieces of equipment. So, okay.
So if I could get a motion to replace the 2 motor graders.
Yeah, I know.
All motions, second.
I'll second.
Warren seconds.
I asked Joe about the steering on this. We've had some issues with automatic stuff and controls, whatever. What kind of steering on these 2 units?
Yes.
Joysticks.
So the CAT is totally joystick control, and The John Deere is either joystick or does have a small center steering wheel in it. And Warren, I understand where you're coming from because in the past, we've had a lot of operators that didn't want the total joystick. But now we're getting a lot of younger generation operators and they are actually preferring the joysticks. So I guess it's what they grow up with.
Makes sense.
So we had a first and a second. Any other questions?
It was in the budget, right? They were budgeted.
Yep.
All in favor of approving the purchases for 2 as indicated earlier, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Congratulations.
Thank you. The second line of business that I have is just to replace a employee who is retiring. So to fill his position, we have a retirement out of our fertile shop. Junior Sanis has put in notice of retirement. So we would like to hire someone to take his position.
So moved.
Gary
Second.
motions, Paul second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? With reluctancy, yes, go ahead.
Thank you.
It seems we missed planning and zoning under Chuck Whiting's, so we'll need to
Yeah.
finish that up.
That later.
That was kind of deliberate to come back to it. You want me to do that now?
Sure.
Sure. Mark said sure. I said sure.
I don't carry
There.
a heavy hammer.
Minimal.
It's smaller than the one you carried.
Yeah, that's if you need it, let me know.
Sometimes when staff isn't able to attend, I offer to carry it on their behalf, but please don't mistake that for adequate knowledge of the works. Neppers division final plat. This has been through staff and the planning commission. I know there was a hearing back in December. Not sure, Gary, if you attended.
I was
that.
there, yeah.
You may know more about the discussion than I do. The recommendation is to approve the plat as presented. It is described to me as a relatively simple and straightforward plat. I did pick up one. This preliminary approval was December of 2024. I don't.
Yeah, I would say I read that too. It was at 20, and we're not there yet.
No, but I think that's referring to the December 6th meeting.
Last year's.
This is on behalf of Samuel Finseth of Fertile. And I think
That map, is that, back to that first one, is that the city of Fertile over on the right?
No, it's east of my place.
It's out by you.
Yes.
Okay.
Fertile is
Yep.
part of the
So
mailing
Rupert's
address.
Oh,
property
is it?
at one point.
Did he ever get it cleaned up? That was,
There's still the old.
but,
He must have purchased this, I'm assuming.
Yeah, through. I mean, it was family.
Oh, yeah.
So. But yeah, he used to actually where that tree is. He had a bunch of rhubarb plants there at one point because he was going to sell rhubarb.
This is the little exception that is noted. The lots go this way.
Yep.
I'm trying to get to the map. Here we go. So this is what you would be approving based on the request.
Mr. Finseth owns this and he's plotting it. I'm assuming is that what this is?
Yeah, and so actually that where the yellow is, the property lines are actually being changed. Because they've actually maintained more than what their original line was, and so it's.
He
they're
talked
just-
about that, didn't he?
Yeah, so they're just correcting that.
Yeah, okay.
Otherwise, yeah, it's really straightforward, because that's a minimum maintenance road there to the east. And then County 5 is to the south. I'll move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Joan, second by Gary. Any other questions? Hearing none. Chuck, anything else?
Nope.
All in favor of approving the preliminary or the final plot?
Yep.
The Neppers division, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Final plot approved. Sarah.
Good morning.
Morning. I got my headphones on today.
Good. Good morning.
Morning.
All right. You want the loudest one in here to have it closest?
Exactly.
Oh, I see where I'm at. I got you. So, good morning. We're going to spend a few minutes talking about a few different areas today. So, the first is our Women, Infants, and Children program, and I haven't presented our participant rates or data for quite some time, so I thought it'd be good to bring that in. So, just to give you a picture, our Women, Infants, and Children program is a service that we provide across Polk, Norman, Monoman. And so you can see here our participant rate on the bottom here. Crookston is this blue line here. The middle line is East Grand Forks, and McIntosh is below. And then you can see our Polk totals here. And then up above is with our all of our clinics, which would include all three counties in Polk, Norman, Monoman. So not surprising, Polk County, being the largest county, makes up the most participants within this program. It's a federal program that is then operated through the state health department in cooperation with our local health department. So we have been providing WIC services for decades, and it's really important not only to our families, but also to our local economy, which I'm going to just talk about in just a moment. You can see our WIC program has been great at keeping consistency in terms of building the number of participants and folks that participate. This last year, we have been in the process of increasing ways that folks can access the WIC program. So if individuals meet certain criteria, they can do their visits virtually or through an app with us. And so that helps for folks that might have transportation barriers, might work overnight shifts, might have lots of different reasons why coming to see us in a clinic setting isn't the most conducive to their family schedule. And so as we've been expanding that access, you can see that our participant numbers are generally increasing, which is really great. It is quite uncommon, or it is quite common to see sort of ebbs and flows from year to year, just related to health insurance and just people kind of coming and going. So, but this is a nice steady increase that we really like to see. A few things that I'm going to mention about our WIC program, and then I'm going to have ask Tammy to share a few things specifically about her work with the WIC program. But the one thing I always like to point out, and I think it's really important because folks oftentimes forget about this, in fiscal year 23, you can see in our congressional district, so we're Congressional District 7 with Fishbach, so this whole tier right here on the edge of Minnesota and central Minnesota is District 7. And The number of the average monthly participants you can see is around 17,000. But the annual WIC dollars spent in our local grocery stores is 13.8 million. And so what you might not know or might not remember is that grocery stores in Polk County and in Northwest Minnesota can have up to 49% of their income come from programs like the WIC program. So it is very apparent to me when we do outreach to our grocery stores that there are some local grocery stores that would not be in business in our small communities if it weren't for WIC and other related programs. So I think it's important to mention the economic impact of our partnerships with grocery stores, and we stay in contact with them, as well as providing access to healthy foods and nutrition education and breastfeeding support. So one of the other things I was going to mention is I often get a question about utilization. So participants that come to our office and meet with people like Tammy get lots of different participant-centered education on whatever nutrition topics are important for them and their situation and their family. And so I'm often asked, are the benefits that folks are eligible for, are they actually used? And for Polk, Norman, Monoman, each month our average is 90 to 92% of all benefits issued are used. So that's a really high rate. I believe it's slightly higher than the state average, so that's really great. The most common things that families use their benefits on for Polk, Norman, Monoman specifically, which is also consistent with the state, is infant formula, eggs, cheese or tofu is one category, and then milk. So those are the most common things that the benefits are used on. The other benefit, which is always seen an increase in utilization, is around fruits and vegetables. And it can be fresh fruits and vegetables, canned or frozen. So we are constantly monitoring that because we know that that's an area that sometimes folks have hardship in. And so I'm happy to be able to offer that. And so I'm going to share the time with Tammy. One of the things we're really proud of is our WIC peer breastfeeding program, which is a sister program to WIC, which means you cannot have a WIC peer breastfeeding program if you don't have the WIC program. And we are the only health department, our CHB Community Health Board in the Northwest region that has the peer program, and we've received national and state awards for it. So can I pass that map around?
Please.
Okay. Tell them a little bit about it. And I'll show the map.
I'm Tammy Kahn, and I'm an IBCLC, which stands as a certified, International Board Certified Lactation Consultant. And I have been with the WIC program for 27 years. I've been here before, so it's nice to be back. And I have worked 18 of those years here in Polk County, and I'm happy that it's been a long time, and I'm enjoying my job. And I work as the peer breastfeeding support counselor coordinator and the breastfeeding coordinator for our program for Polk, Norman, Monoman. And as far as what is a peer counselor is just a mom who has had successful breastfeeding experience, and they're passionate about breastfeeding and want to share their breastfeeding messages with other moms. And peer means like, so they're young moms often that support other young moms.
It's not an acronym.
It's not an acronym. No,
peer.
it's
Person to person.
peer to peer. And so our peers, we have 3 peer counselors, and they're doing wonderful work. And they communicate with their clients, which are WIC clients, like Sarah said, and they communicate with their clients through phone, in person, text messages, emails, and they often come to our breastfeeding support group, which is called Mama's Milk Connection. And so they connect with them throughout their journey. We put them on our program and offer it to them when they're pregnant, and they stay with them as long as they're breastfeeding or for the first year after that child turns 1. And so it's a wonderful program. The Minnesota started the peer program in 2005. We started our program in 2016 when they opened up the opportunity to get new programs on. And right now there's 18 programs in the state of Minnesota. Hence, you saw that on the map. But we are very proud of our WIC staff because all of our staff do have credentials, breastfeeding credentials behind their names. So we do value education and breastfeeding for all of our WIC programs. So that's great. And over 7,000 women in the state of Minnesota have been serviced by the PEER program, and over 500 alone in just Polk, Norman, Menominee. So we're delighted about that too. Let's see.
Noman is in the peer. How come
It is in there. It's on the side
Overlaid
there.
by the tribe.
Overlaid by the.
Oh,
Yeah,
I get
there-
it.
yep. There you go. And so in 2023, we received from the USDA, like Sarah said, we won one award. It's from the USDA Food and Nutrition Service. We received the Gold Award of Excellence for exemplary breastfeeding support and practices, and that award was good for 4 years. And finally, last summer, the Polk Norman Menominee WIC program was notified that we had increased our breastfeeding rates at 1 year of age by over 20% during the 2018 and 2022 timeframe, which is a great accomplishment and a testimony to our WIC staff and our peer program. So that's what I wanted to share today. Thank you.
So just a little bit about our WIC program. It's helpful to know what residents are experiencing when they come to our office and when we say the WIC program. So they might be getting peer breastfeeding support. They might be talking about nutritional needs, whether their child is low birth weight or anemic or whatever the situation might be. Or they might be accessing a benefit so that they can access more fresh fruits and vegetables. So everyone comes with different reasons and different needs. And so we work with our participants to make sure that they have access to healthy foods. And also we do a lot of referrals, whether a family needs a car seat or whether they need a dental home or whatever the need might be. So that's a little bit about the WIC program. So I wanted to just share that with you today since our 2024 state report came out. Do you have any questions for us about that before I go on?
Yeah, congratulations. Good job.
Thank you. Yes, 20% is a massive increase. When we look at population health, when we look at those metrics, if we're moving it 1 to 5% over a 5-year period, that's considered as a success. So for our team to move that by 20% is pretty commendable because that is directly attributed to the efforts that we have done across our agency. So it's pretty impressive.
Especially when that becomes an aging population.
Absolutely, yes, absolutely.
So, a couple questions
Sure.
on the first slide. Like with the total participation.
Yeah,
Does
right
that include tribe numbers, or is that?
No, this is only individuals who are participants for Polk, Norman, Menominee. They come or participate within our clinics. If they participate at White Earth, that is under the White Earth participant rate. And folks can choose. So if someone is enrolled with the tribe and they were to come to a clinic at Norman, Menominee, they would be offered if they want a referral to White Earth for WIC or if they want to continue participation in this way. So it's participant choice.
And then, so you mentioned the benefits that are dispersed, but then what happens to the benefits that are not used?
They end. They have start dates and end dates, and then we get them new ones at the start date at the next month. They don't roll over.
Is there a cost to the program or to the county? Because I think, Sarah, you mentioned 92% or 91%.
90 to 92% is our average utilization. No, there's no cost to the county for individuals to participate. We get reimbursed from the state through the feds for offering the WIC program and the peer program.
So does the ultimate user of the program get deducted for the next month or the next year?
Nope. The benefit that they're offered for the period of time, if they don't utilize it, then it expires and then they get a new amount for each time. Sometimes it's tricky to fully use their benefit package, depending on people's situation. They're just as when they happen to be buying things or the types of things that they want versus what's available. So there's just some nuance to that.
An example might be they have 36 ounces of WIC allowed cereal, and maybe they already have 5 boxes in their pantry, and so they don't have any more space for more. Or then we might encourage them to use different recipes or how to use those products up.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, we really do work with families to make sure that they have foods and recipes that are conducive to their family needs. Like we don't want also people just stockpiling things that they're not going to eat or use. That's not good practice. And so sometimes that's just the reality of how things shake out with foods that people prefer.
And the WIC program has a wonderful app, and it also includes a lot of recipes for our clients, so they can look at that at any time, which is great. And we've been around for 50 years, so that's a great accomplishment too.
Yes, absolutely. Any other questions? Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Tammy.
Yep.
That was excellent. Okay, out of state travel request. So we have 2 individuals that have been requested to participate in a conference in Arizona. One is Melissa Peralt. She's funded by the Regional Prevention Coordination Program through DHS, and DHS has requested that she participate in this conference. And likewise, Amanda Lean, who is funded by a different program, Foundation of Public Health Responsibilities. She has tasks that are newly assigned to her, and so this conference meets her training needs. Whoa.
Don't worry about that.
Okay, and so looking for approval to have Amanda and Melissa participate in this conference. There's no county tax dollars. They're funded by the 2 various funding sources. So just looking for approval for that.
And this is budgeted.
Yes. Yep. They're part of their work plans and budgets. Yes.
So moved.
Joan moved, second. All second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Permission granted.
Thank you. Okay. So the next one, this is new. And I am going to ask Cody Lehman to talk about this one in just 1 second. Before I do that, I want to recognize tomorrow is IBCLC Day, so International Board Certified Lactation Consultant, which is the highest international certification you can have. So I forgot to mention this earlier. So Tammy, congratulations and thank you. And now shifting gears to Cody, I also have accolades for Cody. If you had not heard the great news, we did our interviews for our community health supervisor position, and Cody has recently accepted that role. So she'll be changing positions here shortly. So congrats to her. And she will be talking about funding that we are interested in. And I have an ask here at the bottom to partner with Medica. It's only $750, but it is new. And so wanted to come and visit with you about that. So through Medica, they have what's called county innovation funds. And so they like to partner with counties on various initiatives. So Cody, if you want to tell the board a little bit about the project, and then we can go from there.
Yeah, so good morning. This project, so Public Health has an internal committee, our wellness committee, that every quarter we do a pay it forward project, which is we kind of look for what we can do to give back to the community personally. And so we either donate our time or items or money to food shelves, schools, and whatnot. And so this was brought up probably a couple years ago about the need to have a community life jacket initiative. We have a lot of public water access areas that people utilize inside our area, and thought of the idea of having life jackets available at some of those public points. So we we talked about it internally, and we thought that we probably wouldn't be able to fund it completely internally with our staff donations. And so we reached out to our area schools, some of their shop teachers, to ask if any of the students would be willing in their shop class to make a life jacket stand, which I can pass this around. Those are some options. And so the Crookston School and Erskine School said they would love to be on board with this community project, and they would like their students to do that. We also reached out to Safe Kids Grand Forks to see if we could partner with them to look at cost of life jackets, get them at reduced cost, and they are willing to do that as well. And then we reached out to Medica to see if we can use some of their county innovation funds to help support that project. So the $750, after talking to the schools, they think that that could cover the cost for about 3 of the stands. We're looking at Maple Lake East Shore, the Erskine Lake Cameron, and maybe some of our kayak launch sites to have some of the life jackets available there, and receive donations internally from our staff to purchase further life jackets for the stands.
And we did visit with Rich Sanders when we first discussed this topic
Yes,
a couple years ago as well.
Mhm.
And he was supportive as well.
Yep, so there will be signage, education about water safety as well, and then various sizes from infant, youth, and then adult sizes for people to take and access.
And I've been asked a few times already what happens if people walk away with them. And I guess that means that someone's going to be safer and walk away with them if that's how it ends up being, right?
It's an honor system.
Yeah, it's an
Yes, it
honor
is.
system. Yes, we want people to not have a concern of not. We see and hear about people going into waterways, but they haven't had swimming lessons or they're not a competent swimmer, and so this is one way to build that, to reduce the gap in access and not having a drowning risk. Because I am always very concerned about drowning risk, not only for kids but also for adults who are not good swimmers or might have a reason why they have a concern. So want to make sure people are safe in our most popular areas for swimming. Mm-hmm. Anything else, Cody? Do you have any questions for us?
It's a good idea.
So what we're looking for is a motion to approve this partnership with Medica. Again, it's only for $750, but it is a small amount to have a big impact and also provide education about the use of life jackets and have them available.
Your funds are available.
There wouldn't be any county funds available. We would be getting the funding from Medica. Our funding would just be to get them out there.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
I move.
Paul motion, second.
Second.
Warren seconds. All in favor as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Thank you.
We're approved.
Thank you very much.
Have fun with that. That's a good one.
Yeah, I think it will be good. I think we've seen it in some other communities, and we've been talking about it for a few years. So I'm glad to see it be able to come to fruition. So we want people to use our local waterways, but we also want that to be a safe experience. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you want this back?
Chuck, do we have 5 minutes for a quick break or?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep, good morning, Kendra. To talk to Polk County Board of Commissioners about a couple of roof issues. Yep, I can hear you. Am I coming through okay? Okay, very good.
Entertain a motion for that.
So moved at 10:05.
10:05, closed session. A second.
Second.
All seconds, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Closed session.
Let's see if I had one moment.
Good of the order?
I have an idea or a thought. I would like us to have on the next agenda appointment of the open position on our water district board. We have one, the last guy on there, Mike Bird, has asked to be relieved.
Yep.
And we have an opening there, and I think we should have it on the agenda for next
Yep.
time.
I got somebody, do you have somebody else that?
I have 3 names here that I'm.
Good.
Well, let's bring it on. Chuck's
Yep.
not in here. Submit those names to Chuck and we'll get it on for the next
I've
meeting.
got 3 good names too.
Well, I don't know if these are good names, but there's 3 possibilities.
Yep.
One of them is supposedly a good one. Well, that's Carrie Kirschbaum.
No
who's-
names at this time.
Okay. Okay.
So,
All right.
and a potential appointment to the West Central Water Board.
Yeah,
So
we could use
we'll bring it up.
next meeting.
Yep.
Yeah, that you're not gonna be.
I'll be zooming.